On the Mic podcast, and super excited to welcome back a man we've talked to several times on this show. He will be meeting a fellow Bellator man inside PFL week 1, and I'm excited for him for many reasons, but multiple reasons. We're going to talk about all of those reasons. The one and only Daniel James, the Predator. Sir, how are you?
I'm good, Mike.
Well, listen, I mean, you've already defied all the odds that were stacked up against you. Still going, still pushing, still fighting. I'm not going to say your age because I don't want to get my ass kicked. But I will say you're at a place in your career and in your life where what's now being presented to you with the PFL season, is this the best possible case scenario for you coming into 2024?
Man, yeah, coming into 2024 is the best possible scenario because you're fighting in a tournament that's a big money tournament. You know what I'm saying? $1 million is on the line, or much more. You know what I'm saying? You can make so much money throughout this tournament. So I think it's a blessing just to everybody, man, to even get the shot at chance to do this. You know what I'm saying? And I just thought about it last week. A few days ago, my son's birthday made my 10th year being pro. And I was just thinking about that. And I know guys have been fighting 20 years and I'm just like, I did this in 10 years and to be at this point right now, and I didn't really know this was gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really blessed and I'm excited and I'm just happy to be announced to be fighting this tournament.
Yeah, and how big is, like, in the grand scheme of things, the whole thing, right? Because you have $1 million. Obviously, who doesn't love that? But
Right.
for somebody who's been fighting for 10 years, I know you're someone who's very much a family man, very much a community man. And to be able to not only have that money, but to represent Chicago with a world title, what would that all mean to you?
Man, that would mean a lot just to get through this tournament, be a finalist, and bring that back to Chicago and that will be so unique, man, and it'll be I'll be the first to do it. Besides Lewis Taylor, that was for a light heavyweight. Shout out to Lewis and Bilal. But for me to bring that back to Chicago as a heavyweight and do that, I think that's phenomenal. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Now, you'll be fighting in San Antonio, which, by the way, I'm trying to see if I could work it out and go to the event. No pressure. You ain't got to put on a show for me or anything. But what have you been able to learn about yourself as someone who has continuously fought in Chicago now? The last few Bellator events in Chicago, like, you were on the card. Now, it's not the only place you fought, obviously. You fought all over the world. But were you able to learn anything about yourself, whether it be to tune out the crowd or to appreciate every single moment inside the cage? What has it been like recently fighting in Chicago so much?
Well, recently, what it's like recently fighting in Chicago and overall, I think what I learned from all that was that you can't get too involved in everybody's opinion. Everybody want to see you, want to touch you, want to call you, want to text you. Um, I learned that you have to literally block that stuff out because sometimes it don't play out in your mind the way it should play out, and sometimes it can add a little pressure, and I learned throughout that whole process. I became more humble in that process because nothing matters but your life inside the cage. And you just got to get in and do what you have to do and fight your fight, and everything else falls in place. You win, things changes. You lose, to take a standstill. But I just learned just to embrace the crowd. At the same time, shy away from all the noise, and just treat it like any other fight now. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little difficult for me ending my year with Bellator. You know what I'm saying? I was a little burnt out. I was. I'll be honest with that. So that whole process of me being burnt out, even though it was a lot of cameras, a lot of interviews, a lot of fame, but I just feel like, as an athlete, you can become burned out. I remember, not to go too far in, I remember just listening to Francis talk the other day about how he didn't feel like himself when he was fighting Joshua Anthony. And dude, I literally can relate. He described everything I went through June 16th, the night before I came out to fight. The sweat, over sweating in the back, feeling like you're not there, feeling like something is off. And I was, I did suffer an injury, no excuses, but I did suffer an injury in the March fight against Marcelo Gomes, and my knee was done, and I got in that ring in June, and like my knee literally went out and I couldn't do anything. So I just, what I'm saying, like the pressure and all that stuff, man, you have to really take into consideration you as a person, as being an athlete, and you have to take better care of yourself. And you have to just, what I'm saying, you just have to do what works for you. And, if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, to what you're saying, a lot of people may not know this, but I believe it was that last fight for you in June that there was issues at the arena with
Yeah,
outside personnel, with the ambulance personnel. So the whole
yeah.
card was really pushed back a lot longer, and I think that was
Everything.
something that Francis was kind of pointing at was, he was fighting at 3 a.m. local time in Saudi Arabia. Like,
Yeah.
nobody wants to do that. You know what I mean? So no, I absolutely understand, and it's definitely no excuses made for you. I know where you're from, or where you've come from, and how you're built. I know that's not the kind of fighter you are, but you are the kind of fighter who takes pride in every single thing that you do. So really, I know you want, obviously, you go through this tournament. If everything goes according to plan, you walk away with $1 million. You walk away a world champion. Now, I've had the opportunity to talk to someone you recently mentioned, Lewis Taylor, multiple times in this show. And he's like, yo, the money it's not even really touched. I
Right.
just love the fact that I'm a champion, and I was able to end my career saying I'm a world champion. Do you kind of share that same mindset? Like, yeah, $1 million is great. It's gonna help me out, gonna help my family out. But at the end of the day, being world champion means everything to you.
Yeah, being world champion means everything to me. You know what I'm saying? Like Lewis Taylor said, the money is really not touched. It's just, to be on top and to come out that way, what I'm saying, it feels good. A lot of guys ends on the bottom, what I'm saying? But I just, you give it your all, and you know that you put everything into your camps and into yourself, into your lifestyle that can really help contribute to your sport, contribute. Sorry,
No, you're
my name's
uh,
Gucci. He's just short. She thinks she's tough. She thinks she's
no,
tough, man.
uh,
But yeah, so, yeah.
No, and
Um,
it's an exciting time, because obviously, PFL purchases Bellator. It just got announced. Bellator is going to be on the streaming service Max. That was announced today. Obviously, you being part of PFL, it's going to be on ESPN Plus. There's just more eyes, more exposure throughout this tournament, and you're someone who's been super active recently. Over the last few years. How different is it knowing? All right, I've got a schedule. You may not know the exact dates and you may not know exactly everything, but I've got a start point and an end point, and it's all jammed in one calendar year, and you're starting in April. What was that like meeting with your coaches and just kind of within yourself to go, all right, I'm gonna fit in 3, 4 fights, get a world title all in X amount of time. Was there any difficult conversations with that?
we sat down and we sat in the office, and me, all the coaches, Coach Challenge Junior, Red, and we sat down and we thought about the process of this tournament. And the first thing we did think about was we have to stay healthy, we have to stay injury free, and we can't spend too much time inside of the cage. We have to end fights fast, since it's a point system. We came up with our game plans. We've been in the gyms in camp since June, until the November fight got canceled. So we took a few weeks off and then went back into camp. So we've been in camp and we just been prepping and for everything. We knew that like every guy that I fight has been wrestling me. So we just spent all that time just wrestling, and just figuring things out, figuring different routes, and just pushing through some of the hardest times, and not getting sidetracked, which was hard, but we stayed focused, and me and coaches stayed level headed. They kept me level headed, and they just, everybody sitting back, and we got the call, and we were just like, man, it felt like March Madness. You know what I'm saying? Like you sitting
Yeah.
at home and see if you made the tournament. And that's how we felt. When we got the call, we knew it was going to be either March or April, but we didn't know it was going to be the tournament. We did not know the tournament. We was about to do a tournament. You know what I'm saying? And so we just like coming up, we were just trying to figure things out, like what's next, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then so with all that, we just sat down and had a conversation and said, hey, this we've been training. Now we just got to focus on keeping our weight good and staying active and pushing a little bit harder in camp. And that's it. And my manager, um, when he called me, he just first thing he said was, "Big man, let's ride this year strong and let's stay injury free and let's keep going." That's what he said. And I say respect.
Well, for those that don't know, on April 4th, you will be taking on Tyrell Fortune week 1 of the 2024 PFL regular season, but won't be the first time you and Tyrell have stepped inside the cage. You guys did so at Bellator 288 in 2022. What is that conversation like with coaches? Because obviously that fight ends in a no contest. And is
Yeah.
there any frustration from you coming into this fight? Like you should have had this fight been done over with already.
Yeah, well, at first it was a little bit frustration, but that was like 4 hours out of my day. There was just 4 hours, and we, when I told coach, I said, "Hey, coach, we got Tyrell Fortune again," and he was like, "Cool, let's go." And he said, "But we don't expect anything less of him." We say he is a high level wrestler, a shorter guy. He's fast to be his size. When it comes to wrestling and things like that. And he's just like, man, we just got to go out there. We've been wrestling for almost a year now. We've been really creating we've been getting our defense back together to create offense. And he said, man, let's just go out there and do what we have to do, push the envelope a little bit more. This tournament is going to be the last man standing. That's who's in the best shape, who's injury free, and who's taking better care of themselves. And I just like, coach, well, let's do what we got to do, and not take anything for granted, and remain victorious. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing ill will against that guy. I don't even know these guys. Like I don't. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like, I think he's a worthy opponent that we can get the job done and put on the show and just do what we got to do, man. May the last man standing is standing.
Well, not to take up too much more of your time, but I do got to ask because you talked about March Madness. We're right there. I've always
Yeah.
said one of my favorite things about college basketball, although it can get annoying, but sometimes you'll watch those tournaments and you'll see the next two teams on the baseline ready to come onto the court and have their game. Now, obviously, it's a little different. You're in a cage fighting another person, but how much attention will you be paying to the other heavyweights in the tournament? Will you sit back and be out there in the crowd watching the fights? Will you go back to your hotel? What's your game plan to watch the other heavyweights in this tournament?
In the words of John Jones, watch everybody. Watch everybody. You gotta watch everybody, every move, their patterns. You gotta watch their patterns when they getting comfortable. You gotta watch their patterns when they feeling feeling less in a fight. You gotta look at their faces and see when they accept defeat. You gotta watch everything. You know what I'm saying? Because this is the next guy might be your next opponent. You know what I'm saying? Like I envision it, I see, and I know like how it's gonna go. You know what I'm saying? So you just gotta stay ready for these guys. This is a stacked tournament. This tournament is stacked. You know what I'm saying? I think it's gonna be the most watched thing in sports this season. You know what I'm saying? ESPN Plus sold in over 200 plus countries. Um, so yeah, right now everybody gonna have to continue to do their homework. Coaches, fighters, managers, everybody. It's have to be like representing their guy and being like, hell, this is who we got. We need to make sure we're breaking this down, and it's physics, man.
I don't want to jump too far ahead. I want to go one fight at a time with you. But in the end, there could be a matchup with a Henan Ferrer, the current heavyweight champ. There could be Vadim Nemkov if he finds his way up into a title fight. And then there's the big fish, a man we both mentioned earlier. There could be a
Yeah.
fight with Francis Ngannou. Have you thought about any of those opponents? And I'll ask you, what would a fight against Francis Ngannou mean to you?
Man, that'd be big, bro. That'd be so big. A fight against France Zagato. That'd be like that. Better be my biggest payday ever.
Well, it would
You
be
know what I'm
according
saying?
to his apparent
Yeah,
contract.
yeah. So like that'd be great, man. He's a hell of an athlete, man. Powerful dude. I'm a powerful guy. his platform is a lot bigger, fan base is a lot larger. But like at the end of the day, I'm so used to being an underdog in every situation. Um, I just go out there and fight my fight. You know what I'm saying? Going against guys like that, man, when you possess power and they possess power, you got to make sure that you're out there doing your thing. Like I'm a boxer, you know what I'm saying? I box, and that's like been my first thing my whole life. And now it's like, fighting against a guy like Francis that's jumped over to boxing, and I wouldn't expect no less. You know what I'm saying? I think that'll be fun fight in the cage and out the cage. You know what I'm saying? Like that is something that I'm like, man, I love to do that boxing match or something like that. But like I watch that guy. I respect him, man. I really do. He changed a lot for us in the sport. I think he's the reason why um it is the way it is right now. A lot of fighters are not being paid attention to and being considered, and the whole route going into PFL from Bellator to PFL, Bellator have been so awesome to their athletes, their whole front office, the ladies behind, Jan, Gloria, what I'm saying? All them ladies have been so amazing to me and helping me through this whole process, checking in on me, and then on top of the things that Francis have made statements about, it's making fighters pay better and um, taking more fighters in consideration, not having fighters being used, and I think he set the standards for that. Whether he fight or not fight, he has really changed the sport of MMA from my point of view.
That's beautifully said. And my last one here for you. I got to stay neutral. I am talking to Tyrell Fortune later today. What is your message to Tyrell and to the fans who will be watching YouTube Face Off in San Antonio on April 4th?
Man, come ready to fight, man. And let's do what we gotta do. It ain't no hard feelings, ain't no animosity. I fear no man. I talk down about no man. I expect Tyrell Fortune to come in and be a strong fighter, and I just want to come in and put on the show, and we do what we have to do. You know what I'm saying? So he will give me a handshake, and I'll shake his hand, and brother, respect, brother. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Keep pushing forward, brother. That's it. That's all I can tell him, man. Take care of your family, take care of yourself, take care of your health, and keep pushing forward. Let's put on the show for San Antonio.
I love it. Daniel James, before I let you go, I want to say thank you because one of my favorite career highlights has been being able to cover you inside of Chicago at the Wintrust Arena these last couple fights. Even if the last one didn't go your way, the electricity, the crowd, the mutual friends that we have, the people who showed up just to watch you fight and knowing what you've done for your gym, your team, and the city of Chicago. A lot of people like to up and leave. Yourself, Bilal, Lewis Taylor, just a few who haven't. And you're a great representation. I may not be in Chicago anymore, but you're a great representation of the city. And very happy for you and looking forward to your fight on April 4th. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate you, Mike, man, all the time, bro. You always A100 with me, though. I appreciate you, bro. You know what
I
I'm saying?
thank you
So
very
thank you for the
much, man.
interview. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.